Hello, I'm Annie Musu, a certified EFT tapping master practitioner. I help women build confidence, set boundaries, and enjoy healthy relationships. Welcome to my podcast, Hush Your Mind, building a better relationship with yourself. On this show, I offer practical wisdom to help you clear fears, limiting beliefs, and trauma so that you can gracefully create a life you love. Thanks for being here and joining me in episode number 75 of my podcast, Hush Your Mind. Empowered boundaries for soulful relationships. You see what I did there? If you're a regular listener, you may have noticed that I changed my subtitle. It used to be Building a Better Relationship with Yourself, which is what I'm ultimately discussing in all of my episodes. But I feel like Empowered Boundaries for Soulful Relationships gets more specific and feels so good to me. All right. Let's dive into the episode. I used to pride myself on being a do-gooder. On Saturday mornings, my friends and I would cook a giant pot of mac and cheese and feed the homeless at the park downtown. Local businesses sometimes donated organic bread, snacks, and vegetables. One time, we even got 10 free pizzas. But something began rubbing me the wrong way. I met well-intentioned activists who felt so passionate about their cause, they'd create more harm than good. They projected their rage, shaming others and promoting violence. I thought, how could we possibly achieve peace through hatred? Then I stumbled into a few codependent relationships. At times, I experienced abuse. Other times, I had abusive tendencies. In an ironic turn of events, I became someone I never wanted to be. But all this conflict served a greater purpose. I slowly learned how to cultivate kindness and compassion. I discovered how our inner turmoil creates outer conflicts and a fractured world, and how urgent it is to lay down arms and seek understanding. The world's future depends on all of us learning how to find compassion for our enemies, as daunting as that may seem. No one wants to admit their flaws. We all prefer seeing ourselves in a positive light. Yet each of us has a Mr. Hyde. In 1886, Robert Louis Stevenson published his famous novella, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which called attention to our different selves. We all have a quote-unquote good persona deemed appropriate for daily life, like Dr. Jekyll. And this part of us masks our quote-unquote bad persona, full of repressed emotions and desires, like Mr. Hyde. These negative emotions and traits like shame, rage, selfishness, and hatred make up what psychologist Carl Jung called our personal shadow. You can check out episode number 11 for tips on making peace with your shadow. Our childhood environments reinforced the traits we needed to be loved and accepted. Things like being polite, responsible, and patient. We learned to disown our ugly traits, casting it into our unconscious. But life has an uncanny way of making the unconscious conscious. Sooner or later, we must reconcile with our whole selves. We often see our shadow in the unpleasant traits and actions of other people. By loathing someone else's ignorance, laziness, or vanity, for example, we may be unconsciously denying those traits in ourselves. For the longest time, I couldn't stand my partner's angry reactions. They scared me. So I blamed and blamed, labeling him the enemy. As I helped my partner manage his anger, I became aware of my own anger, something I've learned to reject as a child. I observed the many times I lashed out at him too. Who was the enemy now? It turns out that underneath our rage, we both harbored deep hurts, fear of abandonment, and grief. So we stopped pointing fingers at each other and courageously faced our inner demons together. That mutual understanding paved the way for acceptance and compassion. A universal truth connects us. We all have an innate desire to be happy, and we're all vulnerable to the whims of life. When we face considerable stress or trauma, we resort to various defense mechanisms, like controlling others, lashing out, or addictions. It's tempting to believe some people are bad, and people who suffer immensely often hurt others. Of course, that's never an excuse, and we're always responsible for our actions. The more we push against our enemy, whether it's hateful people or our own inner critic, the more damage we're likely to cause. If we want to create a peaceful world, we must stop feeding our fears. Compassion is above all an inner process. We don't try to change or fix the other person. We can choose if we want to help, forgive, or avoid the person altogether. Recognizing someone's suffering and wishing for their liberation helps us find grace in our own difficulties. And the reverse is true too. Transforming our hardships helps us better understand those of others. Strengthen your compassion with these following tips. Imagine what your antagonist's childhood was possibly like. Silently send your enemy well wishes. For example, may you be happy and well. Acknowledge your own shadow. That's your negative emotions and traits. Contemplate the person's role in your spiritual evolution. Practice compassion meditation. Extend kindness to others whenever possible. And take breaks to stay grounded. In A Fearless Heart, author Thupten Jinpa suggests we chant this prayer every day. Quote, "May all beings attain happiness in its causes. May all beings be free from suffering in its causes. May all beings never be separated from joy that is free of misery. May all beings abide in equanimity, free from bias of attachment and aversion." End quote. For more tips, you might like episode number 59, How to Stay Positive in a Troubled World. In conclusion, let's build a better world together. We need to cultivate compassion more than ever. Despite global turmoil, we have a tremendous opportunity to unite all of humankind. It's certainly a tall order, but we don't have to solve the world's problems. Each of us can look within, embrace our shadow, and cultivate compassion a little bit every day. We cannot fail to achieve enlightenment. Our collective awakening is inevitable. It's only a matter of time. Thank you for listening. I love receiving reviews and feedback on my show. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave a rating or a review. This will help other people find my podcast and benefit from this resource. Until next time, take care. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode of Hush Your Mind. I'm currently offering free EFT tapping sessions in exchange for a short interview. Book your session at hushyourmind.com/interview and get a free EFT meditation and guide for people pleasing. The links are in the show notes. May you have the courage to love and accept yourself. Be well and take care.